Self-sabotage. This is a really interesting concept because you would think that at a certain level of material success, a certain level of physical success, a certain level of any type of success that you want to attain in your life, you would think that at some point, self-sabotage would just go away. And I was calling a friend of mine that I have a lot of trust and respect for, who really seemed to live the lifestyle that everybody would want to live. He had a supermodel girlfriend, was traveling the world, was staying in penthouses, was making tons of passive residual income, was a healthy body, all of these things. And in a way, I really looked up to him. I said, yeah, this guy's got it figured out. This is cool. This is great. And I had a call with him about a year or so later, and everything had crashed down in his life. Every single thing. He got thrown in jail. He was divorced. And I called him up and I said, dude, what happened? What's going on? And he told me about self-sabotage. And I said, man, I would consider you as somebody that I would, emulate, of course, but also the people that I've been serving in my coaching for a long period of time. He was pretty much a client archetype, somebody that I work with. And in general, I like to ask those kinds of people. I said, hey, give me a peek into your mind. What's going on? What makes you tick? Why do things work for you and why do things fall apart for you? And he'd spent a lot of time in Dubai. And he told me something that was really interesting to me. He told me, he said, most of the people think that when they get a lot of money, all their problems are going to solve. Well, all the problems are going to be solved. And I said to him, I joked, and I said, yeah, I think most people's problems would be solved if they have much more money. I think that's most people would be in a better place. That might be the case. But he said, when I was around people that had a lot of money in Dubai, I was spending time with people that had a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars. Now in Dubai, that's not really that much money. And he said something really interesting. He said, from what he observed, there's 3 different categories of people. There's somebody that's $0 to something like $1 million, right? Then there's somebody that's really, really making a lot of money, like anywhere from like nine figures, basically, multiple 9 figures. And then he said that there's the 1%, the less than 1%, the billionaires, the multiple billionaires. Because he had spent time with a lot of those people and had gotten deeply understanding about their unique challenges in life. And he told me something. He said, the people that are the hardest to get to are the people in the middle. And I thought that was so interesting. I said, well, why is that? And he said, well, when people are still accumulating and building their wealth, they understand that in order to progress to where they want to go, they need to change the way in which they're behaving. They need to change the things. They need to improve their network. They need to make more money. They need to invest better. They need to double down on their business, whatever it is. They see a forward path to saying, okay, I know that there's other things I need to do to change in my life and my business to get what I want. Now, the people in the middle, they continually are thinking this. They're continually thinking this, but they've reached a stasis to where they're happy. They've reached a stasis to where I'm okay with how things are, even though not everything I like. Maybe people only want me for my money, or maybe people only value me for my connections, but I'm okay as I am because I'm very powerful. But they still suffer a lot. They still suffer a lot. But then they think, okay, well, if I make more money, if I get another O in my bank account, then life will be better. And then he told me about the billionaires. And he said, when you talk to somebody like that, they realize that, okay, I've essentially made it according to the world's standards. There's nobody that's wealthier than me. I have more money than I can spend in a million lifetimes. And still, my inner peace has not been fixed. Still, something is wrong. Even if I have the pinnacle of what I think life should be like, there's still something wrong. That's when they come to the conclusion that, okay, maybe I need to change something. Because clearly doing the whole material route hasn't gotten me the peace that I'm looking for. So he said that the people that really, really want to change their hearts and their minds are easiest to be found at the very far end of the upper echelon, as well as the other tail end where people are developing to becoming a greater version of themselves. And within all of those spectrums of success and material attainment, there is always self-sabotage to be found. And I thought that was so interesting. I said, don't you think that at a certain point of inner peace, a certain point of material success, you would find peace? And he said, that wasn't what I experienced when I was in Dubai. That wasn't what I experienced when I was around billionaires. I experienced so much more sadness than I could have dreamed of. I thought that was so interesting. And I tell that story because self-sabotage shows up at any point that you're in. Self-sabotage shows up as not enough. Self-sabotage shows up as yes, but self-sabotage shows up as if I only got one more O in my bank account, then I'll be happy. If I only got one more supermodel, then I'll be happy. And I realized that self-sabotage progressively goes away when you align deeper and deeper and deeper with your truest calling. Because self-sabotage only happens when you're not assured in your essence. Self-sabotage only happens when you're mentally masturbating, when you know you need to do something, but you don't do it. Self-sabotage happens when you are denying your soul's calling. Now, a lot of people associate a lot of money with the soul's calling. A lot of people associate power and success with the external expressions of power and success through the material realm. And that might be part of it, of course. But in general, it's not. In general, it's not. And I realized this at a young age. I realized that, even though I wasn't poor growing up, I didn't have billions of dollars. And I had also spent a long time being really broke, being really, really broke. And just looking at myself in the mirror and saying, I guess I'll eat rice again for years. And looking at myself in the mirror and saying, am I okay with the man that I see? Even though I really feel deep down inside like I'm doing what I really should be, but nothing really seems to be working out. Am I okay with the man that I see? I wasn't going to let the self-sabotage tear me down. I wasn't going to let it happen. But I became deeper and deeper and deeper in peace with external situations that would put most people in a freaking coma. I had to become okay with the chaos that was around me and find the eye of the storm and be the eye of the storm and not let the self-sabotage happen. And my sensei said something to me. He said, maybe you haven't been gifted with the money and the power yet, Don. This was years ago. He said this. He said, maybe you haven't been gifted with that yet because you're not ready for it. Maybe because you haven't gotten into the depth of who you are to be able to handle that kind of power. Maybe that would ruin you. I was like, no, that's not true. But if I was really real with myself, I don't think I would have handled it very well at the time that I was experiencing that. Now, what's interesting is that some people have a different karmic path. They will be given a lot of power and a lot of money really quickly. And what that actually allows them to do is it allows them to bypass the intelligence of the spirit and the intelligence of the heart. Because it gets them to think that they're better than other people. It gets them to think that they can control other people and what they do because they have money. It creates this weird rift where they can't see the humanness in other people. They can't see the humanness in themselves. They become clouded with their power, and they treat others as a means to an end as opposed to a human being, as opposed to a heart and a soul and a mind and a family and a mission and a unique imprint on reality itself. And when I work with a lot of these wealthy people, a lot of the times I see that their life feels very gray. And they say, Don, why do I feel like my relationships are just transactionary? And I said, well, because you value your life as a transaction, because you've gotten to the state of power that you've gotten to by being very good at being transactionary. Good for you. That's great. But humans are not a business. Okay. Humans are emotions. Humans are thoughts and dreams and desires. And you can only get so far into connecting deeply and authentically with people if you treat people as a transactionary relationship. And it's hard for people that have been so consumed with their power and their wealth and their status to make the shift into having authentic relationships because it requires them to step into a different state of intelligence, a state of compassion, a state of vulnerability, a state of trust, a state of authenticity. And all that power and all that money allows them to shield themselves from feeling these feelings. Now, this is not to say that all wealthy people are bad people. I've had the great fortune of working with and spending time with great wealthy people. But a lot of the times, it has this effect on people. People aren't immune to this. People aren't immune to the effects of power. And so all of this can act as self-sabotage. I'm not good enough, so I need to make more money. Oh, now I have all the money, and I realize that my relationships are crap. So I'm not good enough. It always weasels its way, and it always weasels its way around to find some other reason why what's happening right now is not okay. And there's a fine, delicate balance to being just uncomfortable enough to where you want to change, but just at peace enough to know that it's all good, fam. And finding that inner harmony, finding that inner stasis comes from tackling the demon of self-sabotage, which rears its ugly head in many different iterations. But know that no matter what phase you are in your life, self-sabotage can and will show up. And it shows up less and less and less and less and less when you choose to follow the path of your soul, which is authenticity, which is the path that God has given to you, which is the path that your soul has chosen before you became a human being, which is aligned with the most ease and grace and fun. Imagine that. Imagine that every single human on this earth has that. And that in order to overcome that self-sabotage, that's the direction you need to take, my friend. No, another girlfriend's not going to make you feel better. No, another O in your bank account's probably not going to make you feel better. No, another vacation to Mykonos is probably not going to make you feel better. Don't get me wrong, this stuff is great. But a lot of the times we're doing that to fill a void. And the void can only be filled by seeking the truth of who you are. And there's no other way around that. Sorry. But it's a fun process. And it's beautiful. And it makes life meaningful. And all of the relationships that you feel are transactionary and gray and dull and boring, where people just see you as a means to an end and you see other people as a means to an end. All of that stuff begins to dissipate. And on the other side, all your relationships that you cultivate are powerful and beautiful and meaningful and dynamic and exciting and invigorating. People value you for who you are, not what you have or what you can give to them, but for who you are. And that's what you're called to do if you want to finally overcome self sabotage.